Elevate your career and unlock new levels of growth by joining Patrick on Career Compass. Career Compass.
That's right. Let's get into it. This is what happens sometimes. We're sitting down thinking, how do we move from point A to point B? We go on different apps, we go to different offices, we put out our CVs, we put out our needs, our wants. We camp in front of buildings asking that we get the job. And sometimes you feel like you finish work on your CV. You feel like everything is okay, everything is good. Why have I not been employed? You don't know what the HR is really thinking, and you don't know the mistakes that we've made. Good morning, Patrick. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Chacha. Great to be here.
Now, it's incredible where sometimes we're just looking left, right, and center. Some people don't know which way to go, which way to move. First things first, when do you think someone should get a job? A lot of people feel like, it's okay to go on savings. It's okay to be moving here and there without anything. Some people, like some ladies, like to say they just want to be chilling and be taken care of. Do you feel like at every point in time, people need to get jobs?
Well, you have to survive. If you're not Omo Babalo, or you don't have somebody funding your lifestyle, you definitely need to get a job to be able to make ends meet. Mm-hmm. And just to dive into it, like you said, many people put themselves out there and they wonder why they're not getting called for the interviews. Mm-hmm. They wonder what are they not doing right? What can they do better? And I'll start off with this. The truth is, getting a job is a job on its own.
Right.
So there's an art to it, and I hope that today's episode will be able to dive into the tips and tricks on how to get the job.
Now, what is the one thing I need to know when I want to get a job? What is that one thing? First thing that needs to come to my head.
So there are several job application materials, right? But I think the bulk of our conversation today will be centered around the CV, hacking the CV. Mm-hmm. I think that's the first step for anybody who is serious about getting a job, right? It starts from your CV. Yes, there are other application materials, but the bulk of it we'll be talking about is the CV.
Sometimes I actually do feel like CVs, there's a time in my life where I felt like CVs didn't really matter. Whatever you put on there is probably how you are in the interview, how you are relationship-wise, how you present yourself. But would you say a CV is the most important part you need before getting a job?
So maybe we'll start off with what is the purpose of a CV in the first place, right? Many people think the purpose of the CV is to get you the job. That's far from the truth. Okay. The number one purpose of any CV is to get you in the interview.
Right.
All right. No matter how well referred you are, no matter how strong your connections in the industry is or are, you still need the CV, because that's the first impression any hiring manager or any recruiter will have of you as a candidate. So
right.
The whole conversation starts with the CV.
I'll tell you something for free. In all honesty, I can count how many jobs I've had that I needed to have a CV for. I personally have had the thought and mindset that I didn't need to have a CV because my work speaks for me, or because I have connections, I know people. And I've been in situations where someone will say, give me your CV. And I'm like, okay. And I do know that there are a lot of people who have the same mindset, that they don't need CVs because they're good to go. While there's some people who believe that they haven't really done much, so what do they need, or why do they need to create a CV? You ask someone for a CV, they say, I've not worked before. Someone who has no experience, does a person need to get a CV?
Of course. Well, even if you have little, maybe you're just fresh graduates, you're just starting out your career, there are key contents that should be in every CV. And maybe we should just start. What is a CV? CV. So a CV, it's the full word is curriculum vitae. It's a Latin word, and it simply means course of life. So when you talk about your CV simply is describing or presenting your course of life to a prospective employer. And what are the key contents in your course of life that your employer is really interested in? It's interesting that we're talking about, because there's some things that should be and there's some things that shouldn't be in a CV. So let's start off with the things that should definitely be in a CV. Of course, your contact information, your name, your mobile phone number, and your social media handles. Okay?
Your social media needs to be in your CV.
In this digital world, we'll go into that. But yes.
Okay.
Your social media is very important to have in your CV, and we'll go into that.
Are you also saying that people need to be careful what they put on social media, especially when they're looking for jobs?
Chacha, look, there's several interviews that I've been, and I'll give you this story. So there's this guy, he got this job in a multinational, right? He had gotten the job. He got to the final stage of the interview.
Yeah.
And the choice was narrowed down between him and one other candidate. Unfortunately for this candidate, right, during his university days, he was into active student union activism, and he put on his social media handle that he would never work with that particular multinational due to some community issues. And you know what the truth is, what you do, what you put out on social media lives on.
Right.
So the internet never forgets. And right there in the interview, the final interview, they do social media background checks, and they did it on him, and that came up, and they said, why are you interested in working with us? You said on XYZ day you were never going to work with us. So
right.
Yes, in this world where, look at Black Lives Matter, I mean, Karen, famous Karen, famous Karen lost her job due to a racial rant that went viral on social media. So yes, your social media
is important.
If you've put stuff in there that a prospective employer does not feel comfortable being associated with,
delete it now. Remove it now. Uproot it. Take it out of there.
All this twerking.
They look well.
Okay.
Go ahead. What more?
So yes, they would look out for that. If you have a sex tape out there, just know that there are certain kind of jobs, you would be not suitable for, because certain employers cannot be associated with those sort of things. So yes, your contact information, of course, your educational background. So even if you're a fresh graduate, your academic degrees, professional certifications if you have any, and relevant trainings if you've attended any. All right. If you've bagged any academic honors or awards, yes, you can put that in your CV. Of course, your work experience. Please list your work experience in reverse chronological order. That means start from your most recent work experience and work your way back.
Right.
By nature of my job, I see CVs as, it's my 9 to 5, right? So I've seen many CVs where they start from the beginning and work their way back to the current employment. It doesn't work. Your employer wants to see your most recent, because that's really the most relevant, top of mind experience you have to bear. So start your experience in reverse chronological order. Use action verbs, okay? Like you managed, you developed, you implemented, you delivered, you did this, as against I was responsible for, I was in charge of. No, those action words, they're more
ginger.
Yes, there's that ginger in it.
Vibe.
Let
them see those things and let it shake.
They say yes, they see this CV, yes, he delivered this, he implemented this.
So are you saying you use big words?
Not big words, but action words.
Right.
You developed.
Right.
As against I was part of the team.
Okay.
I was responsible for. No.
Be a main character. That's what you mean. Be the main character in your CV.
Quantify your achievements if you can. You improve this by X%, you reduce this by Y%. Of course, then any skills you have, be it soft skills or hard skills. Hard skills could be, Python programming, or you know how to use XYZ system, all right? And then soft skills like leadership, communication, teamwork, those are things that can also be part of your CV. If you've published any work, you have any articles you published, books you published, authored, you could put those in your CV. And again, back to your question, volunteer work, projects work.
Right.
Showcase relevant projects or, even internships that you did, whether they were paid or unpaid. Yeah.
You have to signify if there was paid or unpaid.
You don't necessarily have to, but volunteer is volunteer. And finally, and this is a controversial one, to add your picture or not to add your picture to the CV. All right, so it's a dicey one. It's like skating on thin ice, right? If you pull it off, it's awesome. But if you don't, you sink. So it's a technical one whether you could put your picture in there. If you put it in there in your CV, it adds color, it makes it stand out from the crowd, it brings to life the fact that this is a real human being, as against just data, words and figures about this person. The picture brings that particular CV to life. On the flip side, you put your picture in there, you open yourself up to many kinds of bias. Okay, she's too fair. It's too dark. What's it feeling like? It's not fine enough. Is this person fine? So if you think you have the swag to pull it off, right? You have the steez to handle it. I'll give this practical example. I've always, all my CVs have my picture on it, right?
We know why. We know why, but we move on.
Yeah, so I started this over 10 years ago, before putting your picture on your CV was even a thing here in Nigeria. And do you know that I was invited for an interview because they were so shocked and curious that they needed to see who this guy is that puts his picture on his CV. And when I got invited for an interview, they said it was a panel interview. We just wanted to see the person that was bold enough to put their picture on the CV, and I got the job.
You know what? Like I've been saying off air, Patrick is very vain. This is a vain person. So we can understand why he
I can't believe Tasha said this on there. Please, can we see this slide? Can we scratch that?
But I'm just thinking to myself that, you know what? I could have just put my picture on all the CVs, all the places I've applied. If I don't get like 15,000 jobs by now, what's babe like me? This is Career Compass. Remember, you can interact with us on Twitter at Base FM Lagos or 091-662-16000. If you've been trying to get that job, every single Monday from 10 to 10:30, we basically talk about everything that relates to job interviews, whatever it is about jobs. Just hang on to the series. Now, I remember one time thinking about what to put on my CV, as opposed to after putting my job descriptions, everything. I also want to go back to what you said about author, being an author. Say, for instance, someone like me, I wrote a book when I was 10 years old. It was a child's book. It was a storybook. It was fiction. Is that something I should put, even if it's not something educational? It was just something to read and just enjoy. And I was little when I wrote that. Is that an achievement to put on my CV? And also things like, getting a scholarship that I didn't go for. All those things, are they CV worthy? Should I leave them out or keep them on? And do we always have to re-edit our CVs pertaining to the type of jobs that we want to get?
All right, so let me start from your last question. Yes, please. Do not have a one-size-fits-all CV. Your CV should not be one-size-fits-all. Don't be a one-trick pony when it comes to your CV. Your CV is a life document.
Right.
Okay? First of all, you need to tailor the CV to each application. Use keywords from the job description that was advertised, that was used to advertise that position. So if they are looking for someone who is proficient in riding a bicycle, for example, and you are good at riding a bicycle, you might want to start off in your CV putting in bold capital letters, highlights, red, that hey, I have a BMX bicycle. I've been riding this bicycle since I was 7 years old.
Right.
Because that is a key requirement for that particular role. So when you tweak your CV, it shows enthusiasm. It shows that you did your background research on the company, on the role, and it shows that you can now tailor or skew your skill set without exaggerating, by the way.
I was gonna say that.
Without embellishing or being economical with the truth. Okay, no exaggeration, no being economical with the truth, but you are presenting your skill set in the way that it resonates most with the particular job you are applying for. Yeah.
Now, what are those mistakes that you have seen personally people put in their CVs that makes you, as a HR expert, just fling it, say, it's not serious, come on for you?
All right, so first mistake, when you are applying for any job, even though this is not related to CV, but I have to put it in there, please don't send, pardon my choice of word, don't send a naked email with your CV in there and just go figure. I mean, it just shows a lack of effort. Okay, so make an effort to accompany your CV with a cover letter that does an introduction of yourself. Please find attached my CV for XYZ role. It's just polite. It just shows, and then again, as a recruiter, it showcases your communication skills. This person can communicate properly, and that's one pothole. It will surprise you. You just see emails. If they're even nice, they say, please find attached. That's what they have to say. Okay, avoid cliches or general phrases like, overachiever, or what does that even mean?
They overachieve. They achieve over and over.
It doesn't add any real value to the CV. So just don't bother with that. Very interesting. Please, unprofessional email addresses are a turn-off. Okay, so you're sending in your CV and it's coming from flyboy@hotmail.com. It's a professional communication, and your email address is, who's that girl?
La 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 la.
Who's that girl at hotmail.com. I mean, so ideally, your email address should be your first name, _, your surname at email.com. Unless in those rare circumstances where you have a pseudonym that's more popular or more common than your actual name, say Chacha, for example. Okay. So yes,
actually my real name is more popular, but
but I'm just saying,
I get you.
So say your first name is your pseudonym is Wizkid. Okay, nobody even knows your real name in such situations. Of course, if your email says wizkid@wizkid.com, it makes sense. Well, if your first name is Dele, right, your email address should please be Dele.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
No, it's a turn off. If you have a gap in your work history, it helps if you can explain it in your CV. Lying or exaggerating, I mentioned that, look, if you don't have a credential, don't put it in your CV.
Right.
If you don't have a qualification, you could, even if you've started, put in view in brackets.
Okay.
All right. Because look at worst case scenario, they say no. Best case scenario, you get the job and then you cannot back up. You cannot show evidence for something you claimed you had in your CV. In my experience, I've had to let certain employees go because they lied or they exaggerated the qualifications they had in their CV. Somebody didn't have a second degree and they put second degree in their CV. And later on, when we asked for, of course, credentials, for you to present your credentials after resuming, she didn't have it, and she said she was still in school, about to wrap up. And we said, but your CV said you had this degree. So if you lie once, you're gonna have to tell 10 lies to cover up that one lie. You exaggerate once, it's best to be upfront about who you are and the skill sets you have. If something is in view, put in view there. You don't have the degree yet. All right, and then finally, please don't send a 10-page CV. I don't care how many years you've been working. Who will sit down and read a 10-page CV?
I mean, those are my experiences.
Look, even if you worked for 10 years, don't put one page for each year, right? Look, your CV, 2, at most 4 pages, right? If it's anything more than 4 pages, it's going to end up in the recycle bin. I guarantee you that. Okay, if you have things to showcase, it's not your CV. There's a, what do you call that thing again? Your portfolio. Have a portfolio separate from your CV where you showcase works you've done, projects you've delivered, things you want to see, and then you can send that aside from your CV. Okay, so if they want to see those details, they go through your portfolio, or you send links to your social media. All right. So if you have videos of things you've done, shows you've delivered, projects you've done, and you have videos and other materials, send a link in there to your social media handles, and then if any interested hiring manager can go in there, look at your portfolio, if it's virtual or it's a physical portfolio. But don't make the mistake of putting your portfolio in your CV, and then your CV now becomes 15 pages, 10 pages. Come on. Nobody would have the time to.
I don't know. I kind of had a thought that the bulkier your CV is, the nicer or the more interesting you seem as a person. But I've learned so many things today, so many new things, and I'm not even looking for a job, but I have learned a lot. I've actually updated my CV. Just before the show, I did update it. Don't lie, my CV was nice. You saw it. It's sweet.
It was nice.
I bad. But I do have, I've updated my CV anyways. But there's one thing I never used to do, was to have cover letters. I just would put something in the body of the message. But over time, I learned that cover letters were important. But I used to wonder to myself, why do I have a cover letter when I also have a CV? I felt like what's in the cover letter should be the same as what's in my CV.
No. So, like I said, the cover letter gives you the opportunity to customize your application to that particular company. It shows you could, if you know imagine this hiring manager is going to receive hundreds of CVs, right? So hundreds of emails regarding an application. But he receives an email that addresses him by his name. Dear Patrick, please find attached. I would double take on that application. I would take another look at the email. Oh, somebody did their homework.
Right.
It's not just a naked email or just, dear recruiter, please find attached.
But what if we can find who the recruiter is? Is that?
I mean, it's so many. I mean, the world we live in is going smaller and smaller by the day. There's no information out there that you can't find. What company is it? Just go on LinkedIn. You find out who the hiring manager is. The information is there.
Right.
So when you accompany your CV with a cover letter, you get the chance to address the hiring manager, dear Charity. I mean, that you take another look at that email, because this person knows me. Please find attached my CV for the role of. If your CV lands you the interview, it has achieved its purpose, and I think it's a win at that.
All right, to wrap this up, let's finally talk about. We've touched on other application materials, but you did mention earlier on about social media. Why is it important to check on your social media and also your online profile? Some people feel like social media should be taken away from jobs. Some people also feel like I'm coming here to work. My HR shouldn't have any business with what I do outside of this space, especially online.
I'd say 10 years ago, you'd be right. But I mean, ever since the Black Lives Matter movement started, ever since the world became socially conscious, right? Your social media it's not a separate part of you anymore.
Right.
So what you do on social media, as long as it's public, is out there, everybody is concerned about it. Current and possibly even future employers. And I give these practical examples, real life example. I know someone who lost their job because on all his social media handles, he was an active supporter. I'm not going to mention the name of the group, but it's a group that was proscribed by the Nigerian government. And he was an active supporter of that group on every single social media handle he had.
Oh, wow.
And the company could not be associated with somebody who professes to be an active member of a proscribed group. So again, that's where social media came to bite him in the behind. He lost his job. So again, yes, I'll give this other example. I know somebody who went on a training, a company-sponsored training, and unfortunately for him, he was sending an X-rated video to somebody, and he mistakenly sent it to the training WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
Of course, they sent his company's HR got a very strongly worded email, and that led to that person losing his job.
Y'all better be careful where you send your videos to.
So you see that social media, what you do on social media, it's gonna affect you,
All right.
job and your job search.
All right, till next Monday again, we have another series coming up. Patrick will be here again to talk about more things concerning CVs. And next week, we might be talking about the interviews and whatnot. If you want to connect with him on social media, just in case you have questions we can't answer right now because we're all out of time, how can they find you on social media, Patrick?
Patrick Umor, Instagram, Patrick Umor, LinkedIn. You can reach out to me there.
Yeah. Also, if you have questions or suggestions or whatever it is, you can send us a message via WhatsApp. The WhatsApp number is 091-662-16000. It is Career Compass with Patrick and I. My name is Chacha. Every single day of the week, from Monday to just on Mondays, from 10 to 10:30. I'm still here. Thank you so much, Patrick. Any final thoughts to people who are searching for jobs?
Like I said, getting a job is a job on its own. So don't give up, keep at it, and the job of your dreams will be yours.
Very well
Thank
said.
you.
Elevate your career and unlock new levels of growth by joining Patrick on Career Compass. Career Compass.